There we go. We got you.
Good morning, thank you for joining us, and thank you for your invitation to the Legal Board of Voters. My name is Krishna Mondale, and I'm the president of the local League of Women of Orange, Durham, and Chatham County. With me today is Val Gist, who's a board member, and Val is also the director of the Vote for 111 program. And along with us is Rick Gist, who is supporting us with technical aspects of this program. Thanks again for inviting us, and let's go forward. I want to bring your attention to a couple of things on this slide. First, vote, it matters. It really does, believe it or not. In the local elections, lately there have been just a few hundred votes that has made one party the leader and the other party not the leader. So it does matter. Every vote matters. The other part is that, like I said, we are Orange, Durham, and Chatham County chapter of the League of Women Voters, and this year marks our 75th anniversary, so we're very proud. So please celebrate with us. Okay. What I'm going to talk about today, this is the agenda, is that why we should vote. And there are types of elections that happen in North Carolina, who actually can vote, and then the whys and whens and hows and the deadlines for voting, how you register, how you vote, and the specific deadlines. And then that, like I said, will lead you through who you should vote for and where you can find all sorts of voting information in an on-person manner in the Vote for 111. So why should we vote? Well, voting is very essential, and back in the day, in our Constitution, the idea was the those of self-government, where citizens need to choose their leaders. But then this idea of who is actually a citizen is something that we are still working to clarify. So in 1870, the 15th Amendment was passed that gave the African American men the right to vote. And I stress that as men, the right to vote. In 1920, with the passage of the 19th Amendment, gave women the right to vote. And then just 51 years ago, in 1971, the 26th Amendment was passed that gave 18 years old the right to vote. In 1960, all right, we were just hoping that you were paying attention.
Okay. Whatever you did over there, Alan, all of a sudden the screen went blank. Okay.
Okay, 1965, a major landmark bill, the Voting Rights Act, that really made it very smooth for everyone to vote. And that, again, we're at that point here, the Freedom to Vote Act, and hopefully we will get that passed. So, since that time, it was put in the Constitution, today we are still really fighting for every citizen having equal access to the polls. So, again, we ask the question, why should you vote? Well, voting is your chance to choose. And choose what? It is your voice. It is the first time that your voice is heard. And what do you want people to hear? Well, we want to voice our concerns. And what are some of our concerns? Can somebody tell me that? What are we concerned about? Anybody? About our health care. Yes? Our safety, our home, our environment, and our taxes. Well, let's see. Jobs, yeah. Housing, safety, school, environment, transportation. These are some of the few things that we're concerned about. concerned about. And once we are concerned about these things, why are we concerned about that? Well, because we want to shape our community in the best possible way so that everybody has the best chance to live in our community. And why should we vote? Well, we want to hold responsible for our elected officials. Because they are promising us all sorts of things, but when they don't, then we sort of not vote for them. And that is also our choice. And who are our elected officials? Well, it starts with our local mayors, right? And then the city council, school board, the judges, the county commissioners, the representatives, the local senators, and the state senators, the state representatives, the federal senators, and the federal representatives, and then all the way to the president of the United States. So it all matters. Okay, so this year we are going to have 2 elections. Correct? You guys see that, right? We are going to have a primary election that's on May 17th. And what is a primary election? Can somebody tell me that? What do we do? What's so different about it? Yes?
If you're registered with a political party, you have to vote for someone in that party.
Correct.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yes. Good.
I always assumed it was a given that that's what you're going to do if you register that way.
Very good. So
But I didn't know.
So what is a primary election? The primary election, remember all those candidates we had for the presidential election in the Democratic Party, there were like 1.20 of them. And we all chose, state after state after state chose for a certain candidate until Biden got the highest number of votes. And so the Democratic Party chose Biden to be their candidate. So in the primary, the voters help choose the candidate for a certain party. It's not just any party, it's the party that you have registered yourself when you are registering to vote. It's either the Democratic, the Libertarian, or the Republican Party. So during the primary, you get a ballot from your party and you help choose that party's candidate. But what if you registered as an unaffiliated? That means you are not part of any of these parties. Well, lucky you, because you get to choose whichever party you want to help choose their candidate. So let's say that I am an unaffiliated, registered as an unaffiliated voter. I can go and say, I think I will choose a Libertarian. And I will help the Libertarian Party choose their candidate to be, let's say, a senator for North Carolina. Okay. And then what happens? And then, of course, you have the general election, which always happens on the first Tuesday. The first Tuesday after November 1st. So this year it is on November 8th. And this is where the political parties, candidates from political parties, challenge each other at the vote. And then all registries go to vote for any candidate. You don't have to vote for your party's candidate. And then it is the winner to vote. Okay? So this is a special year, and that's why you're going to be hearing campaign messages from now all the way to November. Lucky us, right? All right. This is something very easy. Who can vote in North Carolina? Anybody? Well, there's one that's civic, right? You have to be a citizen of the United States.
How old do you need to be?
Very good. You have to be 18 on or before November 8th. That is the election day.
And what religion do you have to be?
Very good. Can you live in California? And be a voter in North Carolina? Yes. When, how? Interesting point. We'll get back to that. Okay.
We're here to learn, right? We're here to learn.
You have to be a legal resident of the county where you plan to vote for 30 days before the election. Now, what she said was interesting. If you're visiting California and you're a resident of Chatham County, and you're visiting during the election time, you actually can vote by mail. But not if you're living there. Okay? If you're visiting, you can. All right, the last one. The last one is interesting. The last one concerns people who have been incarcerated for felony crimes. So if you have been sentenced with a felony crime and you are incarcerated, you can register and vote once you have finished your sentence, you have finished your parole, you have finished your probation. You can register and you can vote. But you cannot do that once you're still in jail or have not finished it. Clear?
What is a felony? Is sometimes the thing in prison.
Murder. Robbery with a weapon. Okay. But to go to back to that point, if you are in prison for misdemeanor, okay, you can still register and vote. A misdemeanor is something that says shoplifting. But yeah.
Yes, it's a more minor offense, but you're still breaking the law.
You're still breaking the law, you're breaking the law, and you are in prison.
Yeah, the felony is the more serious crimes. Not that crime is not serious, but it's the more serious crimes versus the misdemeanors are not. Not as bad.
Okay. So, how do we go? Well, you have to register. You can't just walk in and vote. Somebody has to know, the Board of Election has to know and have your name and address for you to vote. So this is called registration. So you need to register. If you're not sure that you're registered or you have registered and your new address, you can look at it through North Carolina's Vote 411, which Val was talking about. Or you can go to the Board of Elections website. This is the NCSBG means North Carolina State Board of Election. Government and look for your voter record. So,
Does anybody here not know if they're registered? Raise your hand if you're not sure if you're registered. Okay. Is there anyone here that is not registered? You know for sure you're not registered in Chatham County. Okay. Because if we need to help somebody check, we are more than happy to help you check to make sure you're registered. Okay.
and I also have a broad registration form. If you're not at all registered to vote at your current location, at the place you live right now, if you're not registered to vote at that location, then we can help you register today.
So if you have been a lifelong resident of Chatham County, but you're living in a new residence, do you have to re-register?
Yes.
Okay, so that's an important thing to remember is you may have been a resident of Chatham County your entire life, and you may have registered in Chatham County, but you need to make sure that you're registered with your current address. Okay, So does that change it for anybody? Does anybody know that they need to check their registration? Okay, because we're here to help you do that if you're not sure, or if you need to re-register. Okay. Oh, Evelyn? Okay. So we can help you.
You know, that's how I moved to a new place. I still have the post office box, but it's a different house address.
How does that work?
Okay, you cannot be registered at a post office box. You need to be registered at a proper address, a street address.
Okay, so I know that there's a few people in here that their mailing address is a post office box.
Okay,
So we should really make sure that you got the right information, that you're registered the correct way.
perfect. And if you have moved recently, it's as simple as moving from across the street, or even moving from apartment A to apartment B in the same house. Okay, you just need to update your address. Okay, and we can help you with that. Okay. Moving on. If you have voted in the past 6 years, your registration should be up to date. Yes, I'll let you know. Okay, perfect. All right. If you're in any doubt, just talk to us after the program and we'll help you. Okay, once we've done the registration part taken care of, you can vote. All right. Okay, how do you register? This is the North Carolina voter registration application form. And we have a whole bunch of them here in the front for you. I know you can't read this. I can't read even close by. But you can see that there are parts of it that's colored red. Those are the parts you fill out and you submit it. So where do you get this form? Well, you can download it from the Chatham County or the State Board of Elections site, or you can go to the Chatham County Board of Elections, which is in Pittsburgh, and you can ask them for one. But like I said, we have a whole bunch here right now that we can help you with. And you can download it from this website. That is the State Board of Elections website. Okay. Okay, you need to fill it out completely. Fill this form out completely. And it's very, very important that you sign it here and then you date it. Believe me, we've been doing this for a long time, and so many people forget this part. And it's not valid if this part is not filled out and dated. All right. Okay, so if you want to vote during the primary election, you need to be registered. The deadline is April 22nd, so you need to have this form filled out and give it to your Board of Elections by April 22nd at 5 p.m. Okay.
Now, is that something, if they fill it out today, that, is it something if they're not registered? Or if they need to change their address? Then can they give that to you, or do they send it into the Board of Elections, or how does that work?
They can give it to us, we will take it to the board.
Okay, so if you need to register, you can do that today. So if your address has changed, or if we need to check your registration, you can fill out the paperwork today and they will get it to the Board of Elections for you, okay? So, does anybody need to do that? Raise your hand if you need to check, or if you need to fill it out. Okay, so we will get you.
Okay.
Evelyn.
I'll help you. All right. So what happens after you have registered with this form? In about 2 weeks, you receive in the mail something very simple looking, what is called the board registration card. It will come to you from your county board of elections. Okay. In the voter registration card, it will show you your polling place, meaning that's where you go on election day to vote. And it'll show you your precinct. That is the part of town that you live in. And we will show you these. They're the precinct map of Chatham County. Right, and the polling place. So those are two important information that's on the card. Now, if you don't receive a card, you might receive a phone call from the Board of Elections. If, for instance, they can't verify what the information that you gave them. Okay, for instance, the last 4 of your social security number, your name, or frankly, most of the time it is that they just can't read your handwriting.
So we make sure that everybody that comes here knows that they don't answer the phone if they don't know who's calling, or if they're not giving out private information. How will they know that it is the Board of Elections calling them?
It'll show if they know the phone
Mhm.
that has
Caller ID.
It'll show Board of Elections.
So does anybody here not have a phone that shows caller ID on your phone where it'll say so-and-so's calling? Does anybody not have a phone like that, or do you have a phone like that? So if you don't have a phone like that, raise your hand. Okay, so if you don't have a phone like that, then how will they know?
So you let the Board of Elections leave a message.
Okay, and then you call them back.
And you call them back.
Okay,
One thing is for you to be proactive, for you to be ready. If you don't receive this voter registration card in about 2 weeks, okay, you call them and you say, hey, I filled this out and I don't have the voter registration card. Is there something wrong? Can you help me? And I personally will vouch how to that the people who work at the Board of Elections in Chatham County are super helpful. They're very professional, they're courteous, they're helpful. They're pro-voters, they want to help you get registered, they want to help you vote.
and likewise, if you have not registered to vote and you have not put in new paper and somebody calls you and says they're with the Board of Elections, you probably don't want to answer, you don't want to give them any information. Okay, so just unfortunately, in these times, we have to be careful that we're not giving information out to somebody who's not who they say they are. Okay.
Okay. This is Chatham County, your home, okay? This is a map of the voting precincts and the polling locations. If you can see, the polling locations are this borderline, this outline places, there are about 16 of them. Right? Those are the precincts, and then the polling places are the red buttons. So there's, let's see, we are in Salt Lake City. So East Salt Lake City, there's West Salt Lake City. There's some polling places there.
Is this a polling place? Say, is this a polling place?
For the maybe the big election, the big election, but not the primary.
Okay.
Okay. We have a little bit more details coming up.
It turned into a paper airplane and flew away.
That's it, cool. Yeah, the slides are made by Val. Please. just-
Whoop, whoop.
No patience for that. Okay, so North Carolina? Oh, like it says over there. No, it's there. And back. Okay. I'm not doing that.
You're doing great.
There are 3 ways to vote in North Carolina. And you know them all, believe me. There's absentee voting or voting by mail. There's in-person voting. You can vote early. This is really what North Carolinians love, early voting. Majority of the voters in North Carolina choose to vote by one-stop early voting. And
What does one stop mean?
it's not. So Chatham County in the 2020 election had the highest number of voters voting during early voting
Wow.
in the state of North Carolina. So that's pretty cool. And then of course there's election day voting, and that you can go in person. Okay, so what is absentee voting by mail? Actually, you don't have to be absent. It is something that we used to use as vocabulary, as something that we used before. It is essentially vote by mail. You don't need any excuses for that, so you don't have to be out of town. You don't have to be sick. You don't have to have any excuse to vote by mail. Okay? So no excuse necessary to vote by mail. It is safe. You are voting from the comfort of your home. And voters you can use voters in care facilities to vote using voting by mail. Okay. All right. But what is it that you require? Even though you don't need any excuse, the ballot is not automatically given to you. You need to register. Okay? So you must be registered before absentee voting. You have to request an absentee voting ballot. We'll show you in a minute how. Let's request an absentee voting, so do it now. Now is the time for you to do it. So a new relative can help you. New relative means siblings, parents, in-laws. Those are people who can help you. For primary ballot, it is party affiliate, like I said. So when you need to vote, you need either a notary public or 2 witnesses to say that yes, it is you who actually voted. It is not some stranger who is using your ballot. Okay. And then finally, you return the voted ballot to the Board of Elections by May 17th, which is the election day. Questions?
Faye, do you guys have a notary here? Just out of curiosity. Okay, because I know Siggy is a notary in the Eastern Center. But we can also, she says you can also just use 2 witnesses. So Siggy Markov, who organizes the all the transportation, the medical transportation. Was she? Okay.
Okay, so this is North Carolina's absentee ballot request form. Okay, absentee ballot request form. So you need to request this. It is a form. In fact, you can fill this out online, but you can print out this form, fill it in, and mail it to the Board of Elections. So where do you get these forms? Once upon a time, before COVID, you could really get it everywhere, like at the libraries, at the health centers, out the care centers, at the senior centers. These forms are available.
Mhm.
But now the Board of Elections is not distributing them. Okay.
So we would have to print them out.
So you can print them out. We have some here for you.
Okay.
So you can telephone. This is something really nice. You can telephone the Chatham Board of Elections and request a form. They will mail it to your home. All right. You can go to the absentee North Carolina absentee ballot portal. You can do this all online. So if you're in a care facility, you can ask a helper, sit down with you and fill this out online. It takes about 10 minutes to fill out exactly this form. And you just hit enter and it's done. Okay?
So if you fill it out online, you don't have to print it out and mail it. It just gets submitted automatically. Okay.
Okay, fill it out completely, you need to sign it. That's right, you need to then print it out and sign it, sorry.
Okay.
And your relative can help you. Okay, it needs to be returned to the Board of Elections on May 10th. That's a week before election day. 5 p.m. All right. Okay, so once the Board of Elections gets your request for an absentee ballot, you get the ballot in mail. The Board of Elections starting March 28th, the Board of Elections will start mailing the ballots. All right, the voter will receive it in mail. So the absentee ballot is to be completed in private, but in view of the witness. What does that mean? That means the witness has to be nearby, but don't need to see how you're voting. Okay.
They're just there to witness that you're the one actually voting.
They're just, yeah, exactly. But you're the one filling out the form. But they don't need to see how you're voting. There is a return envelope with a certification statement. That is very important. And there is an instruction sheet. You need to follow the instruction. So it's the voter marks the ballot. Okay, this is what the envelope, you see this is an envelope. The envelope of the absentee ballot looks like. Once you have filled in or voted, your choice is you put the ballot in this envelope. You sign it over here. Okay. The witnesses or the notary public has to sign and put their addresses on there. If the voter needed help marking the ballot, and this can be done by a close personal relative, the helper needs to sign and put their address down. And then you mail it to the Chatham Board of Elections. That's their address. Okay. Any questions? It has to be envelope. Your ballot has to be there by the Chatham Board of Elections on election day, May 17th, by 9 p.m. So I wouldn't wait for that deadline. I would get it done and put it in the mail beginning of May, so that I'm sure that all this work that I went through actually counts for something. Okay? It's a lot of work. You're going through a lot of hoops to go. You have to make sure that it counts, to make sure that it gets there by May 7th. Yes, ma'am.
When are the absentee ballots counted?
Okay. We took that slide out.
That'll teach you.
They are stored. So what happens is that the absentee ballot goes to the Board of Elections. They make sure that it is certified, make sure that everything is done properly. Okay, then they put it through a tabulator. All right, the tabulator reads the vote, but it doesn't tell the public. And then a hard copy of that vote, of your ballot, gets stored. You have an electronic copy and you have a paper copy of it. And that paper copy is stored. And then at the end, when all the ballots are counted, then the tabulator reads out. The votes coming out, the candidate knows if they're behind or ahead. Right? That's not happening. Okay, so even if you do get an absentee ballot at your home, but you change your mind, you know what, I want to go to the precinct and I want to see my friends when I vote, I want to vote with them, together with them, you still can do that. If you cannot change your mind, even if you have an absentee ballot at home, what you need to do is destroy that ballot.
You can change your mind that you don't want to vote absentee, that you want to go in person. You can't, once you submit your absentee ballot, you can't change your mind who you're voting for though, correct? There's a difference there.
So when it comes to ballot comes to your house, you decide that, okay, I want to vote in person. Take that ballot, you tear it up, and then throw it out, and you go and vote in person. Okay? And you can vote during early voting, or you can vote on election day. Okay. We are moving on to the second way of voting in North Carolina, and that is in person but early, one stop. And this comes back to your question: what does one stop mean? All right. So early voting is really very good. We have good 14 days, that's 2.5 weeks. We have Sunday voting, we have Saturday voting. And what one stop means is that you can actually register and vote on the same day. Registering by online or with us stops several days ago. Okay? But if you miss all those chances, you can still register and vote on the same day during early voting time. It is less crowded. It maximizes that your people who don't understand the mail delivery, it's a big help to them. And it maximizes your chance that your ballot will get to the Board of Elections on time. It's a very good way of voting for displaced voters. Good option also for our disabled voters. So this is really a win-win for everybody. Okay, so this is early voting schedule in Chatham County. Begins Thursday, April 28th, and then Saturday, May 14th. This is the first week. You see the times are a little bit different, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Saturday, is 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Second week, we have Sunday voting on May 1st, noon to 3 p.m. We have weekday voting and we have Saturday voting. On the third week, we again have Sunday voting from noon to 3, Saturday voting from 8 to 3, and weekday voting from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. So really, it's 2.5 weeks, which is pretty good. are the early voting sites in Chatham County. There are 5 of them, 4. Okay, this is the Chatham County Agriculture Conference Center. The community college is Health Science Building, Wilson Town Hall, New Hope Baptist Church, and the Paul Braxton Gym in South City. All right, then we have, of course, election day. The election day for the primary election is May 17th. Polls open at 6:30 in the morning and will until 7:30 in the evening. So, your polling place, remember the voter registration card I talked about a couple slides back, that gives you your polling place. Okay? You go to your polling place on election day. This is the Pittsburgh precinct. This is the Chatham County Agricultural Center and Conference Center. If you don't know your polling place, Val will show you how you can find it. Okay. So what happens at the polls? So let's say you went down to the gym here in Colorado City to vote. So what happens? You enter, and there's a person at the check-in place. So you check in, you give them your name and your address. No Google reviews. And then you get your ballot. You go to a booth like this, you fill out your ballot in private, and then you feed the ballot into the machine. And then, of course, you get a little sticker that says, I vote. Okay. It is sometimes ballots can be really long. There's a front and a back to it. And again, since you're making the effort to go and vote, you really should vote the entire ballot. Not for your, just don't go and vote for your favorite candidate and walk away. Vote for the entire ballot. Look at all the food stamps there, U.S. Senate, U.S. House, state contest, North Carolina Senate, North Carolina House, the Supreme Court, the Court of Appeals, again, district court, district attorney, county contest, and of course the delayed municipal election for South. These are really important positions, and people need you to vote. Please vote the entire ballot. Okay, so here are some important days for the primary election in 2020. Voter registration is April 22nd at 5 p.m. But remember, you can still register and vote during early voting. Request for absentee ballot, the deadline is May 10th. Absentee ballot, vote by mail period is March 28th to May 17th. One-stop early voting is from April 28th to May 14th. And election day, and the last day for absentee ballot to reach the Board of Elections is May 17th. Election day is, the polls are open from 6:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. But your absentee ballot needs to be at the Board of Elections by 5 p.m. Okay, well, now that you know about the ins and outs of voting procedures, I'm going to turn it over to Val, who's going to talk to you about where, how, and who to vote for in a very nonpartisan way. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
take very long. But just to get started, Krista has told you everything you need to know about when you can vote and where you can vote. And the previous slide identified the races that will be on your ballot. But you can find out exactly who those people are that run into the various offices ahead of time by going to our website, vote411.org. And on there, it's based on your local address. You can find your polling place in case you miss your card. You can actually get a ballot. Look at a ballot, you don't get a ballot. And you compare the candidates, you see all the ballot measures. And you can get all kinds of other absentee voting information if you like. I made this slide just to let you know that it is the website. And so if you would go on your computer or on your smartphone and you type in vote 411, you will get to this site, vote411.org. It will automatically go there.
And if you don't have access to it, while you're here one of these days, you can ask us and we can help you get access to it so you can look at it, whether you're using our computers, you're using the tablets that we've got. So if you want that information and you want assistance to look at this, let us know and we'll help you do it. Okay?
And this is the main screen when actually once you log into vote411.org. First thing you'll see are these options. Here you can get information. If you haven't registered, you can get the information you need to register. You can check your registration status. It actually brings you into the state website where you can check the status of your registration. And then what we're talking primarily about is find out what's on your ballot. So if you log in and you want to find out the candidates who are running, then you can check what's on your ballot. Vote411 does not have that information yet. Candidate filing just ended last week. So it takes us a lot of work to get all of this information. But this is the basic process of how vote411 works. And while we encourage people that voting is a right, but it's also a responsibility for you to educate yourself and make informed decisions. And that's what vote411 will do, help you learn about the candidate and get the information from the candidate or herself. Anyway, so you go to vote411.org, you put in your address and zip code, and then you will get a list of candidates, and I'm going to show you that. We don't have current information, so I just got stuff from 2020. This is just for illustration purposes. But once you put in your address, you'll have, this is the page you'll go to when you want to find what's on your ballot. So you put in your address, and after you submit your address, you will get all of this kind of information so that you'll know when the election is. And you click on find what's on your ballot. Click there. And then this is where you will get a summary listing of all of the races that are in the election. Now, this is just a screenshot, so that was taken in 2020. And so I just picked at the time just to show you what will happen after you select one of the candidates to look at. In this case, I just picked the U.S. Senate race from 2020. And after you select the race you want to pick, you will get a summary page like this, and this tells you who the four candidates were in the 2020 race. And it is at this point that you can compare the two candidates. See this where here says compare. So you put it here, you select him, and then you pick compare. And when you do that, you will see this, and this is the comparison. And what this is the when we to develop the vote411, our team of vote411 team, we have to develop questions that are relevant for the position the person is applying for, and we send an email to those candidates and ask them to respond to those questions in their own words. We don't edit it. Whatever they say to us is what will show up here.
And remember, vote 411 is nonpartisan, so they're not putting any, slant on the information at all.
Correct. You won't see any information in Vote 411 that tells you this person is a good person and that person can, sort of keep their own form. And that's the beauty of Vote 411. But then the other benefit of it is, unlike a lot of other voting outs, is that you get an opportunity to look at two people who are running for the same office, and you can see what each person thinks about a given question that is important. We're in the process right now of getting all those questions together and then get them in classes. And then, after you check all the races that you want to check, the candidates that you want to learn more about, you will hear instructions. It's very intuitive. Clear back, Emerson also, you can go back. And at the end, when you go through it, after you read about the candidate, or I didn't screenshot that, but after you read about this candidate, at the bottom of this list is a button for you to say, okay, I like this person. So you select that one. And after you do all of the races, and it will show you who you selected. In this case, I just randomly picked for president, I picked Biden. Shannon Gray was a libertarian, and then David Price was the representative. But anyway, you can see the check marks will tell you who you decide you would like to vote for based on the information that you had about them. And then you can print this out or send it to your email. You can take it to the polls with you. Or you can use it as a guide when you get that long ballot at home. You can say, oh, I've already looked at this person, this is where I'm going to vote for. And it can help you. It can help you fill out your ballot faster. Any questions? It sounds complicated, but it is fairly simple. And friends can help you do this. I'm sure you can help you. So what we want to do is what we're trying to do with Vote 411, and what we're trying to do with these briefings that we spend a lot of time going around to people explaining this is that we also want something from you. And that is we want you to help us promote voting. Voting needs to become a habit because there's an election every year of some time. And so it needs to become a habit. And people need to talk about it. So we try to encourage people to tell their friends and family members about what you learned today, and certainly about Vote 411.org. And also, if you use Facebook, and a lot of some seniors do, I personally don't, but some people do. There's a lot we always say on Facebook, the Already Voters, and it shares all kinds of information too. But the most important thing that you all can do for us is that we know you belong to other organizations. So if you have a church or another organization that you belong to that you think could benefit from this type of briefing, connect us to them. Let us know. You can tell Jackie, or you can let us know, and we'll set the briefing to them, because our job is to get the word out and get the vote out. We don't care how you vote. We just want you to vote. And just so you know, Chatham County, in the 2020 election, 84% of the registered voters voted. And that is a phenomenal thing. That was more than, 76, 84% of the people did something with the vote. But it's a very high number. Chatham County voters vote, and we want to keep it that way. So we just put, this is just your information, resources for Chatham County Board of Elections. And this is the major website. orange-chatham.org. And they, do have coronavirus procedures in place right now. And then the last thing we want to leave you with is that don't be afraid about getting COVID when you go to vote. They have procedures in place. But there are other options. You can go absentee with no excuse, but you need to do it now. And then you can go early. The other interesting thing about chatting that happened with voting, the initial application that went to the state did not include Sunday voting. But the League of Women Voters and other citizens wrote to the state board and begged them to include Sunday voting.
Oh, wow.
The souls to the polls have always resulted in a good turnout. So because of the input from residents, the state agreed to allow 2 days of Sunday voting. It's only 3 hours, but it's right after church. And that was the intent. So, and the league took a major role in getting people to comment. Early voting is a big deal. We really need to push early voting. Everybody likes it. And as I said, we convinced the state to give us 2 more days. And then, of course, you can always vote on the last day. But the last thing we want to leave you with is mention that your vote matters. It's a right that has been long and hard fought for. Susan B. Anthony said, why should I vote? Because people die when you vote. Use it. And others have also said that. That was one of the things that Christian Missionary said. Abraham Lincoln said, the ballot is stronger than the vote. And it's your voice, your individual voice, and you do make a difference. So please vote, and if you need help, you can reach out to Jackie.
Yep.
And if there's something that we can help you with,
I know how to get a hold of Al.